sa inyo. Okay, recording in progress. Um, Great to be with the brothers, and it's a privilege to share yung mga natututunan natin sa quiet time. So this is one of those quiet times na I'm really fired up about. Just knowing, So we'll go through it very quickly, but before that, pray muna tayo. Let's bow down our heads and pray. Dear Father, thank you so much for the opportunity na ibinigay mo sa amin bilang mga kapatiran. Grateful kami, God, dahil meron kaming ganitong avenue para ma-encourage namin ng isa't isa. And kahit nasaan pa man kami, God, sa mundo, nakakakuha kami ng encouragement. And we're so grateful for the church, Father, and the technology na binigay mo sa amin. Please be with us at this time. Help us to really meditate in your words and help us to really change from within so we can be effective disciples of Jesus Christ. Ito po yung dalangin namin sa pangalan ni Jesus. Amen. Amen. So this is ano to eh?
Come on, John.
Multi-day quiet time or probably a few days of quiet time. And kanina inisip ko, ano ba, maggagawa ba ako ng slide presentation or just share na lang. Pero inisip ko, may time naman ako, so might as well share this with you guys. I'll send the link to the Google slide later on pagkatapos nito. And hopefully, the goal for this is mas makilala natin si God, right? So knowing. So ang scripture natin for today is in John chapter 5, verse 1 to 17. If you have a Bible, open it up. Pero I put it in the slide anyways para lang just in case na you're driving or you don't want to open up the Bible. Obviously, no one wants to close their Bible. But let me just read from verse 1. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So they asked him, "Who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk?" The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well. See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who had made him well. So because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders began to persecute him. In his defense, Jesus said to them, "My Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working." So this scripture, I think it's not hindi to makikita tong kwento na to sa Matthew, Mark, and Luke. I think from what I know, Matthew, Mark, and Luke sort of come from the same sort of template. Maybe I believe it. The Gospel of Mark was sort of the template, and then Matthew used that and added some of his experiences. That's why Matthew is longer, and Luke as well. Used the template of Mark, and you added some more of his learnings. And that's why, again, it is longer than Mark. Pero the book of John seemed to have come from not a template of how the gospel is shared, or the stories of Jesus. It seemed to have come from, John's experiences himself. So as you can see, interactions of Jesus are a bit more, I guess, detailed. John chapter 3 talked about, or 4, about the Samaritan woman. Napaka-detailed no conversation, to the point of, wow, was John there? I mean, even the conversation with the Samaritan woman, wala naman yung mga apostles dun eh. But it seemed to be a very intimate conversation with John, kaya niya na share yung mga stories na yun. That is just beside the point. That is just probably a perspective of mine that I wanted to share. So in John chapter 5, makikita mo, Jesus, sa NIV, it says there, when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time. The word used in NIV is learned. However, in King James Version, it's different. It's when Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time, as an invalid. Parang it from, if you look at it, it doesn't really sort of make a difference, right? So what kung NIV uses the word learned and King James uses the word knew? But the Greek word for knew, the reason why King James Version used the word knew is because the Greek that was used was a ginosko. From the Strong Dictionary, it is like a prolonged form of a primary verb, to know, absolutely. And nakalagay dyan, absolutely, meaning to absolutely know. But one thing interesting about this word as well, I use Esword to sort of research words, Greek and Hebrew. Sa dictionary ni Thayer, as you can see, it's almost similar to Strong's dictionary. However, when you look at number 3, it says there, Jewish idiom for sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. So when I go, where did that come from? The word know is actually an idiom in the Jewish culture. And then I started researching about the word know. And in the Old Testament, the word know is actually used, which relates to this idiom of sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. In Genesis chapter 4, verse 1, sa NIV, nakalagay dyan, Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Pero sa King James Version, it's, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain. Right? In some sense, if you're reading the Bible using NIV and you look at King James Version, NIV does make sense. Kasi surely they made love, that's why she became pregnant. But the word that was translated in King James Version is new. Pag binasa mo yun, just King James Version alone, you're like, of course he knew Eve. But ano yung connection nun between her being, conceiving Cain? Because the word knew in Hebrew is yada. Going back to the word yada is actually an intimate knowledge. So when King James, when King James translated the word knew, when King James translated yada, King James Version was trying to be as, to keep the integrity of the translating the word. That's why it used knew. But in actuality, it is in essence an intimate knowledge of Eve. And that happens only when there's like sexual intercourse in the privacy of their room. So going back to John 5, Jesus is the Son of God. Surely he knew intellectually about the invalid. He's the Son of God, di ba? But that was not just an intellectual knowledge, but an intimate knowledge of the guy who was invalid. Intimate, as if it was just between a man and his wife inside the privacy of the room. You know, it could have been anyone else in the pool of Siloam, but it looks like intellectual knowledge is not enough for Jesus to initiate the healing. You know, imagine being in the same state for 38 years. You know, it's like for Jesus to actually connect to the guy, he had to intimately know what it's like. So it's like, parang imagine mo yung conversation in with Jesus. It's like Jesus holding on or putting his hand on the guy's shoulder and actually talking deeply and intensely to the point of he is experiencing what that guy is experiencing. Are you guys still with me? So it's like, I can't just intellectually know that this guy is invalid. I have to really know who he is, what's in his heart. And yung tanong ni Jesus na, do you want to get well? Previously, nung pag binabasa ko to, I thought, that's such a sarcastic question. Of course he wants to get well. Jesus, why do you want to ask that? But changing the perspective of Jesus actually having that intense, intimate relationship with the guy, the question is actually deep. It's like saying, Ed, hey, you know, I feel what you feel, but do you really want to get well? You know what I mean? It's that genuine concern. You know, all of a sudden, it blew my mind na parang, no, this is not a sarcastic question. It was a sincere question coming from somebody who knew him deeply. So the first challenge dito, you know, para sa akin, and maybe you can take this challenge as well, is don't challenge people until you really get to know them. You know, at this time, I want to share about Amin's challenges. I probably have shared this, that, you know, Amin went through some depression. I asked Amin if it's okay to share this, and she said it's okay. She had to go through some depression. To a degree, iniisip namin, bakit? Why did she have to go through this? But later on, we understood why. You see, yung son din namin, si Caleb, had some anxiety issues as well. Now, I didn't have those experiences. But in my mind, I thought lazy lang yung anak ko. You know, he couldn't wake up in the morning. I mean, he was awake. He would be awake in the morning, but he couldn't stand up and do anything. You know, and in my mind, I go, he's just being lazy. That's just being a teenager. But not until my wife talked to me about it, about her experiences, that's when I understood. I go, yes, there is some chemical imbalance that happens that sometimes we're not in control of, which prevents us from actually standing up. Well, it takes a great will, basically, to stand up in the morning. So because of that, so imagine kung hindi na-experience ni Amain yun at hindi niya nasabi sa akin, I would have been hard on my son. I would have challenged him so much that he would probably not become a disciple dahil hindi niya, baka na-experience niya na hindi ko siya naiintindihan. But he's a disciple now. And the impact that God had, that Amain had with him is also, you know, happening sa ministry namin. Now, we just moved to a new Bible talk and maraming issues around mental health. And because of that, for me, if I don't have Amain with me, I wouldn't understand it. But right now, si Amain understood it. So now I can sort of understand it. So Jesus going to this invalid person, could have discipled this guy of his excuses. Remember, nagbigay siya ng excuse. Jesus, whenever the pool is stirred, somebody goes straight. And then, but interestingly, Jesus didn't say anything about that. He just healed him, right? But before that, he was intimately close. He had that intimate relationship with that guy. So the first challenge is don't challenge the people until you really get to know them. The second challenge is know God. The word yada in the Hebrew language, I learned this from Marty Solomon's Bima podcast. I don't know if you guys are listening to that. Very interesting, very deep. The word, if somebody challenges you, brothers, to know God, how does that look like? But really, to know God is to be intimate with God, In Deuteronomy chapter 4, the word yada was also used. It says there, you were shown these things so that you might know that the Lord is God. Beside him, there is no other. So this was the time when they experienced all these miracles. And the reason why all those things happen is not so much for them to know God here or that God exists, but it's for them to really know and be intimately, to have that intimate relationship with God. It's not just intellectual. How do you know that you are just knowing God intellectually? In John chapter 5, same scripture, you don't have to turn there. So because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders began to persecute him. In this defense, Jesus said to them, my Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working. How do you know that you're really knowing God? You are knowing God correctly when you are becoming like him, just like Jesus. It's not about just knowing the scriptures. Those leaders, I'm sure they can quote the scripture that talks about the Sabbath, but they actually just know the scriptures, but actually know God. Are you just fired up to know about a lot about the Bible, but not becoming like God? You are becoming like God if you are not just focused on the law. So again, Sabbath, if you know God, the Sabbath is made for men, not the other way around. You know the scripture probably. And the reason why the Sabbath is made for men, you see, when Genesis in the first 5 books was written, those Jews were in the desert, and what happened was their worth was based on how much they produce. That's why, because they were in Egypt. Again, this is from the Bima podcast. Their worth is based on how much they produce bricks. So they kept on working. But the Sabbath was instituted by God so that they will have rest. Again, the Sabbath was made for man, not the other way around. So if you know God and if you intimately know him, you know that it's not just about the law, but it is about God's heart. Okay, final insight in here. This is just a bonus point from my quiet time. John 5:14 says, later Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, see, you are well again, stop sinning or something worse may happen to you. It seemed to imply that his illness was because of a sin that he did 38 years ago. Why else would Jesus say this, right? The final point here is when Jesus touched you, you are not only forgiven, the consequences of your sin will also be erased. We all know that sin has consequences, di ba? But when we became Christians, we are forgiven and we believe that. But sometimes the consequences of sin still haunts us, right? Di ba? You see, Jesus in this scripture did not only forgive him, but also erase the consequences of his sin. We've probably said this. I know that I'm forgiven, but I still struggle with the consequences. Some people may think that way about you, but Jesus do not seem to look at you that way. Finally, in conclusion, I want to reiterate the challenges. I mean, you may take it or not, but I'm just sharing what I learned about this. First is know your people or the people that you're helping. Don't think that since you have not experienced what they experienced, you are unable to inspire them. So, to a degree, if you're leading or if you're helping somebody, so they might have some experiences that you have not had. The key there is to really know the person. Just like Jesus, he wasn't invalid, but he knew the invalid deeply, intimately. And the next one is know God deeply, intimately, strongly. Don't be like the Pharisees who just knows the Bible, but be like Jesus who knows God through the scriptures. The scriptures are majorly for you, not just for you to preach to others. Let your life be used as the message of God to others. And finally, the bonus point, believe that you do not need to be paralyzed by the consequences of sins. So hopefully, you've learned something sa quiet time ko. Thank you, guys.
Oh, awesome.
Salamat, John. Thank you very